Hey everyone, today we're going to make some cranberry orange zest scones. So I'm making a double batch, but the recipe I'm showing on the screen is for a single batch. So I'm adding flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt to the bowl, all your dry ingredients. After I add all the dry ingredients to the bowl, I'm going to mix it up. And then I'm going to add half a cup or 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And the best way to mix scones is to make sure that your butter is frozen. So here what I did was I chopped up my butter and put it in a bowl, and I put it in the freezer, freeze it. But they also say you can grate it. I've never tried grating butter before. So you mix it, then I add my zest. It calls for 2 teaspoons of orange zest, but because I'm making a double batch, I did the entire orange. And I like it like that. It's good. I love orange zest and lemon. But here I'm using orange. Along with the butter in the freezer after I chop it up and put it in a bowl, freeze it, I also put what I need as far as the cranberries in a bowl, and I put it in the freezer with the butter just so it's cold as well. And here I am putting the cranberries in, and they're frozen. Mix that up. And by the way, it calls for heavy cream, but in this recipe, I'm using coconut milk. And that's also cold. I made sure that that can of coconut milk was put in the refrigerator. But here it calls for pure vanilla extract. And I've been making my own vanilla. It's been sitting in a jar for a year now, so it's ready to be used, but so I'm a little, I'll try it in a bit. I mean, on another recipe. And then it calls for 1 egg, but of course I'm making a double batch, so there's 2 eggs. And here comes my coconut milk. It calls for half a cup of heavy cream, but I'm putting a cup or half a cup of coconut milk. And it tastes good with coconut milk, you guys. Yum. So because your hands are warm, you want to try to touch the dough with your hands, because your hands are warm and it'll melt the ingredients inside. So you try to use a fork. Here I used a fork. I didn't have a pastry cutter thing, so I had to use my a fork. And the last bit of it, I'm using my hands just so I can shape it. And we're making mini scones today, so I'm going to try to make a lot. So these patties that I'm making, I'm going to cut it up into 4s. So the least time you use your hands on your dough here, the better. The better the dough. And if I had some those chunky salt, I would have used it, but I didn't have any. So what I did after I put them in a pan, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in a pan, and then I'm going to freeze it, put it in the freezer or refrigerate. It says you can refrigerate it for 15 minutes and just to get it back to cool, and then you can bake it. But I put it in the freezer, and you can also put it in the freezer, take it out the next morning for breakfast too. So here I am putting it in there, and I'm going to put it in the freezer or the refrigerator, and then I'm going to take it out and bake it immediately. Shout out to Lynn. Lynn gave me that cutter there for the saran wrap and actually anything you want to put in there. I'm going to take a picture, a close-up picture of this batch here so you can see the butter in the dough mixture. See the big white chunks in there? That's butter. So that's what you don't want to melt. So after it freezes, you take it out and you use here, I used, of course, coconut milk. And if I had those chunks of salt, I would have sprinkled that on top. And then you bake it for 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. In my case, it was less. And or until golden brown. And it's done. Here it comes out. Oh my gosh, the orange zest in this in these scones come out so nice. And I love cranberries. We are in Washington. Yum. Well, there you go, guys. Cranberry orange zest scones. Yum. Everyone in the household loved them, especially me. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great day and a great week.